we can get started. I think we'll, at least for the official stuff that I wanted to get through on tonight's stream, we're going to have a good time. The music's going to reflect this. We have a very unique party that we made up over the course of the week. So to examine them, well, not that the others were not fun, but this is its own unique challenge. And I wanted to go over this style of character creation or really even like party breakdown with you all, because it's an excellent exercise for you if you're a PC to sit down with the other players of a group and say, hey, where are we in relation to each other? You know, how does our party look? Can we make a character sheet for the party and determine as an entity what is the party good at doing and not good at doing? Hey Peru, good to see you. You're also thinking how they dodge if you get your AC from armor. You are getting hit, but it can't cut through or bounce off. Instead, like a monk, you just dodge everything. Oh, right. I'm sorry. That's in response to Bobicus saying, I've been thinking about the HP thing, and if hits don't represent physical blows, then there's also no reason for players to know if they hit or how much. But it can, right? Hit points are just an abstract for a lot of things. It's physical injury, mental injury, all right, because you have psychic damage. It could be, you know, some sort of just fatigue, right? You take a couple swings in combat, and you can narrate that while an enemy hits your character, or like while mechanically they hit your character, it could just be, look, it was an overswing, pulled a muscle, and it really hurts, and you know, he's fighting through it on adrenaline, but the character is more tired or more limited. So, hey Doss, it's good to see you again. Welcome back. So it gives you a great playground or a great set of narrative tools, Bobicus, to just describe it how you want. You know, just because someone is hit by the enemy doesn't mean that, you know, they're struck and bleeding out. Because if that was the case, I mean, people should be dying after one hit anyway, right? Or like two, especially if they've been stuck really well and they're bleeding out. But if you have it represent exhaustion, mental fatigue, a person's willingness to fight on, you know, like an internal conviction sort of a thing, you can use it as a catch-all. Peru, you'd be glad to know that Ravenstar is currently in, I believe it was her that's in possession of the Dagger of Perugia, which by itself is now its own infamous artifact here in our channel. So for new folk like Doss here, who's joining us, you can ask Peru about it, but that is its own sort of in-stream legend artifact. Alright, so what you see that I've done here, while I'm blocking a little bit of the character sheet, that's because I really want to focus on, well, alright, what's going on over here before my finger disappears out of the camera angle. Oh, players roll damage right now, which means they have knowledge of how much damage they've done to the monster. The question is, should their characters have that knowledge? I mean, I don't know how, unless you're putting a brain slug on them, you know, they're going to realize that they swung and did 10 damage. Again, unless you're dealing all the damage to the monster. Like, so in that case, you're taking the responsibility of playing an accounting minigame with everyone else's hit points, including monsters and players, which you can do if you really want to. That adds its whole own unique layer to D&D if you do it that way. Right, like if your players are just generating the random numbers and you're accounting for it as the AI of the game, kind of a thing, then yeah, you could keep it a mystery. They won't know how much damage they're dealing, and that would bring about a whole new maybe way of thinking for the players in that game. And Peru says, "What?" Well, look, Peru. I mean, so this simple dagger you started out with has been on quite the journey, as have you. Right? You've lost it and found it. It's always been reforged. You know, the talons can never truly destroy it, seemingly. So, it makes sense after all this time we have some sort of an artifact of the Dagger of Perugia I don't know really what it does, aside from not really... it has a bad habit of not ceasing to exist. Maybe it's some sort of a returning dagger. Plunder loot, I say do the status. So if they look normal, battered but good, bloodied, standing on their last leg. Yeah, you can give sort of a broad description in some form or fashion too. You know, sometimes I'll drop the hint like, oh, whoa, he's staggering, like a stiff wind could blow him down. And but yeah, that's and of course I liked the bloodied value in 4th edition. While mechanically it doesn't do anything in 5th, at least as far as I know. It's not an official condition. I don't think there's really anything that triggers off of that. There are things that trigger off as surprise, but I don't mind in 5th edition saying that that an enemy has been bloodied. Which also, if you think about it too, you know, Bob, because if we look at 4th edition, I know we're talking about 5th in the channel. You know, bloodied is half the hit points. If you have a 200 hit point monster and it's only bloodied after, you know, 100 hit points, maybe it's just exerting itself, dodging, or maybe it's taken a couple hits and it's breaking the armor, but it hasn't actually been hit for any sort of damage yet. And then when you bloody it at that halfway point, that actually means that yes, it is injured and it is at risk, because the clock is ticking now. You're at the halfway point. Yes, Plunder. Yeah, half or less. Hey, funny man. Hello, amigo. ¿Qué pasa? As you can see, funny man, you are still... Look, if we go up here... Whoop, you're still hanging in there. You still got the mojo, funny man. Right about here. Stretch. Flex, yeah. Bobby Kiss. I mean, the question is HP real? Regardless of what information I hide from the players, there's a pool of resources that slowly depletes over the course of a fight. Do characters know it exists? Yeah, because it's fatigue, right? You know if you're getting tired, if you're jogging, lifting weights, if you're sparring, if you're sick, right? As compared to being healthy. Your body sends you these signals of you're feeling weak or numb or tired or nauseous or something. Can you quantify it in hard numbers as yourself? Maybe not. I mean, heck, it's hard enough. You go to a doctor's office or the hospital and you know how they have the 10 faces for how much pain are you in. I could have, the same, sprained wrist as you do, and, from the same injury. But you might go in and say, my pain level's only at a 3, and I'll go into my doctor's office and I'll be like, oh, this is a 6. I can't do it. Eltrion, hey, thank you for the compliment. Do you know, Eltrion, where this hat is from? I can give out some bonus EXP to someone if you know what this hat is from. If you are having trouble, so you can see it, that there's like a little knobby do up here. Why do you get more tired when a poison arrow deflects off your armor than when a regular arrow? Narrate the combat. I mean, maybe it wasn't. Maybe a poison arrow actually, like, yeah, keeping a PG-13, but you just got the tip of it, right? So it gives you like a little pink, a little pinprick, and so you have a very minor wound that is probably starting to get irritated. You're not poisoned, but that actually got through, where a normal arrow, I don't know. It depends on the hit and the circumstances as you're narrating combat and you want things to be, dynamic. Nah, not Hamtaro, funny man. Funny man, yeah, it's like a gauge of the ability to stay unconscious in a fight. Yep. Or even if we say Bobicus, it's the willingness to fight. if your enemy is shooting poisoned arrows at you, maybe psychologically you're not you're not as invested in the fight because you want to get away. They're like, oh, these aren't just regular arrows, which are bad enough. These are poisoned arrows, and so you're going to a panic mode. Maybe you get more stressed, and your body is even under more duress, and so you tire more quickly. So it's not even the arrow; it's just the threat of the arrow that is imposing that. You need me to look down? Okay. Does this help? I know, even though it's a green screen, yellow does seem to also blend in. You have no idea where it's from, sadly. My only guess would be it's from one of the Mons, the Poké-Digi ones, but I can't recall which one. I will tell you, Eltrion, that is a good guess, though that is not correct in either case. So we can eliminate those. Nope, funny man, we can eliminate that as well. Were you thinking Fumofu? Don't be weird, cat. I know it's weird saying don't be weird to a cat, but don't be weird. No, I know, Dose. It's just like if it's super yellow, but yet I can sport blue, and so it's just picking up the more yellowish aspects of it. Whoa. Hopefully you didn't link to something scandalous, Plunderloot. Bobby says, I think this is why I prefer narrating combat abstractly. Regardless of how it's narrated, the mechanics behave the way the mechanics behave. I'm never satisfied with the various interpretations. Hey, look, if you're ever satisfied with anything that is, narrative or artistic or whatnot, then you've reached the end of that career, right? You should always be thinking, inspired. You should never be satisfied, and always think, what's the next step, or what's the next thing I can do to maybe enhance the group, and then alternately on the back end say, hey, this isn't really working. How can we revise this? Well, if you're holding your dagger, Peru. Oh no, I'm sorry. Other than magic items, never mind. So you would still be clinging desperately to your dagger. It's only Talons that does that. Okay, so Peru is pretty well just destitute and out on the streets right now. Mr. Plunderloot, no, that is not correct. Tis not, tis not. Alright, so what I did here, I went through each of our 5 band members, right? Elspeth, Roscoe, Laricus, Liara, and Revi. I listed out their ability scores in a matrix, their saves, which, surprise, 4 of them are the same, and their alignments in the first part of our party examination. Now, yes, we have a level 4 Revi, and we have a level 14 Liara. For the examination we're doing, that's not going to matter terribly much. We know the direction that those characters are taking. We can see where they're going to go and where their strengths are going to be. So as we sit down and we write our campaign or we write our mod, we don't need to worry about the levels. We're worrying about the concepts and the skills and the things that they either will go into or have already gone into. Yeah, Peru. I've been here before, jeez. Oh, the link is how to be a good GM, gotcha. The best tactical waifu. Various means of hiding the information from the players feels clunky, and I don't know, dishonest? Like, I'm trying to pretend combat is something that is fundamentally is not. Hard to put into words. I think I'm getting your gist. Make it however you want. If you just want it to be a binary hit or miss, and hit points are something that in character are not known, but out of character we're using to tick down until a status effect of unconsciousness. If everyone's consenting and that's how they want to play the game, that's perfectly fine. If they want to crank up the difficulty of the game, right? You can almost look at it like difficulty modes. Easy difficulty is quantifiable hit points with public knowledge of hit points. Like super easy, you could even say, the monster's hit points. Like it has a life bar, like you see in a lot of RPGs. Then you go easy mode, where the players know, but you don't really know about the enemies. And then you can come up with some sort of medium or difficult mode, where the DM is the one keeping track of the damage dealt and the damage received, and will just provide narration and some sort of detailed description, so that the players have to use their imaginations, and they can't ultimately quantify hit points, right? So on the one end you have maximum crunch, on the other end you have maximum fluff, and where do you make your pineapple pen? Eltreon, wait, wasn't there an anime that had something similar to the hat? Was it about an amusement park? It may have visited an amusement park. I would have to remember. I can tell you it's a 26 episode anime. I can tell you it's an anime based on a manga. Hey, does that help? Although, if you are thinking about Full Metal Panic Eltreon, that's probably the Fumofu character, the mascot. Plunder, I've never hit how much damage they deal. Granted, if they are immune, eventually they will find out. Okay, so I went through and I listed out their stats, and the ones who were like really tops in their field, if there was a top 2, I removed the highlighting to show who is strong in, well, hey, let's look at strength. Liara, our bard, has the highest strength because she has not skipped leg day, and she's just too darn swole. She is like our tank bard. Meanwhile, you look and you want to see the face. We have, nice Grandma Elspeth, and we have bad boy Roscoe, and these are going to be the faces of the party. Now, I mean, Lariakis here is close, though if we look at who's tops, or who will be tops, over the course of the campaign, there you go. Is that something that Revi will ever approach? No. She will never be, the face. Pardon. But that's fine, because that's not where her skill set takes her. Not Paranoia Agent, but that is that's a good anime, funny man. Hey, Drink is Shenanigans? Welcome. We're building a party of bards. All throughout the course of the week, we made 4 bards and 1 other, and we're making a band to illustrate that in 5th edition, you can have completely different characters, even if they're the same class. And, as I was just explaining here, look at our bard number 4. Look at her AC. She's rolling up on you with a breastplate and shield and longsword. Strength, charisma. Would you know that this is a bard just by looking at her? I'll tell you, though, if she's in combat and she's swinging on you, you'll know. Yep, and a monk. 1 monk, that's right. Oh, yes, and I will be... Nope, not Mr. Frog, Das. And if you can guess which anime my hat is from, I will also I can give a little bonus if you even guess what the hat is, let alone the anime that it's in. Mr. Plunderloot is stumped worse than a legless dwarf. Okay. Always like a swinging bard. Well, yeah, she will, you get the clash of the, maybe she plays percussion, because that steel is going to clash, and she's keeping time, right? She gets 2 attacks around, and she's coming in swinging with that sword, and she'll sing in your face as it goes clang, clang, and sparks. She makes her own pyrotechnics. It is not Hamtaro. Nope, Tycho, but it is good to see you. The band was the next step thought from the what I had put out was in 5th edition, you can run the same class. You can have multiples of the same class in a party, and you'll have completely different slots filled. And so then it came up, well, let's go bards. And like, oh, well, we'll make a band. And so that was the chain of logic that led to what we have now. Not Monster Rancher. So we have eliminated Monster Rancher, Digimon, Pokemon, Full Metal Panic, Paranoia Agent, Hamtaro, and Kyokara Mao. And the other clues are it's from a 26-episode anime that was based on a manga. Because that helps. Okay, so after laying out the stats of our party members, we can see, look, everything is pretty well spread out, right? I mean, there's someone who's good at something. We now can take a look at our skill proficiencies, and I'll tell you, in a group of bards, the worst skill has one person of the 5 who's good at it. Though, if you take a careful look, hopefully it can come through here, you can see that there are names that are left in regular font, and there are names that are italicized. If the name is italicized, that means that person has an expertise in that skill. And that means adding double proficiency. So you can almost say, you can almost say, oh, well, we can just bump up by a slot because someone is super good at that. So in this case, because only one person knows Arcana, that's Lariakis here. I put it as yellow because it's caution, right? If Lariakis isn't around and you need to make an Arcana skill, he's the only one who can do it with proficiency. Though, of course, note, 4 of the 5 party members have Jack of all trades. So if you wanted to, in this kind of a setup, you could even wrap back around and say, well, so this is green, right? We have 2 people who know a skill, so it's a little safer. You could almost bump it up and say, well, here, for Lariakis, we could almost just make this, a green-blue, right? Because he is super specialized in sleight of hand. However you want to do it, however it makes sense. Remember, we're wearing our party, our PC caps, and we're creating a character sheet for our party because it is an entity itself, and we need to understand who would be responsible for what, who's good at what, who's our strong woman. Well, it's going to be Liara. Dameko Dobutsu. Useless animals. No, that is incorrect. Plunder loot. That is incorrect. Next up, I took the languages. I didn't indicate how many instances of the language could be spoken. You can do that as well. I mean, look, I guess I have room. I could put common times 5, right? Infernal, I think, was 2. Halfling was at least 2. But as we went through the party, many of them were able to take an extra language. And during the stream prep for tonight, I filled in those languages as I was coming up with concepts for the characters. For instance, Elspeth von Elderberry, aka Eve, right? EVE. I gave her Orcish, as in our Mesotopia, this Mediterranean-style region. If you think, well, who might be prone to be sailors? Well, elves, right? We've already established in a prior campaign, elves are on the seas decently, and we're not even talking about like Nereids, which are like water elves or water, like elven mermaids. But, who's hale and hardy, who can go the distance, who's strong, can hoist sails, and can weather and, survive under the beating sun. Well, it made me think, well, there's probably a lot of orcs and half-orcs who do that kind of work. They might be more naturally prone to be sailors because of that. And we have, in Kandor, we have a region that has not a majority, but a plurality of half-orcs, and thereby extension orcs living around. And I said, okay, so you know what? She picked up Orcish. It's kind of a brute, it's a more maybe simplistic language, right? Not a lot of words. You know, sometimes it might just be a point and a grunt. Who knows? It could be a very tonal language even. And so, you know, she can speak Common. She can speak Elven eloquently, but in all her time sailing around, you know, the inner sea of Mesotopia, she probably picked up Orcish because of the other sailors. And I bet she can cuss in that language like no one's business, too. Babacus says, there's another problem with D&D hard mode. The more information you hide from the players, the fewer meaningful choices players can make in combat, because meaningful choices depend on access to information. Regardless of whether you're focusing on D&D as a storytelling system or as a game, meaningful choices drive it either way. Yep, that is true, Babacus. It's that sit down with your players. What do they want? Which mode of D&D do they want to play? And just a simple conversation like that, you know, or you could even challenge them and say, hey, you want to try something different this combat or this session? And maybe they'll take you up on it, and then after running the combat or the situation, they can say, oh, I really like that. I felt more of a thrill because I didn't know. And it made them more resourceful, right? It was the mouse is backed into a corner. That doesn't mean it won't attack the cat. And OP1983, hi, welcome. Thank you for coming by again and participating in what we have going on. It is not Totoro, so we can exclude My Neighbor Totoro. OP, if you have an idea about my hat, where it's from, which anime features such a creature, here I'll kind of make it so it's staring into your all's souls, even though I'm looking off to the side. There we go. Right, and it's got the little antenna right up here. Bing, 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 bing. Plunder loot? No, unfortunately, this is not Call of Cthulhu. I don't have some sort of like brain slug or cult summoned controller on my head. So every skill is covered by this group with at least one person knowing or being proficient in it. Though with the note, 4 of our 5 party members have Jack or Jill of all trades. Party languages: Common, Infernal, Halfling, Gnomish, Elven, and Orcish. These are the tools that the party members are proficient with if we look at it as a pool. Again, I didn't indicate, well, how many people, you know, is it Navigator's Tools times 1, times 2? Oh, Cthulhu? No, it isn't. It is, oh, it's a game. Okay, not an anime that you're saying. Or I have not heard of that. The closest is, I know in the Ghostbusters cartoon, maybe to avoid a possible copyright issue, that they called Cthulhu Cat Hulu or something like that. And we take a look at the roles. What is the role of the party members? Well, 4 of them are bards. High magic, high magic, high magic, low magic. Wait, how do we have a bard with low magic? Well, let's jump over to Liara here. Look at her charisma, right? She cannot cast as many spells nor as powerful a spell as the 3 other bards in the group. She can take support spells and spells that maybe don't need to roll to hit. You know, like buff spells or even some debuff spells, things like that. It's just, you know, you expend it on a slot, but she is not going to be a heavy caster. In fact, in some ways, she's almost like an Eldritch Knight. Maybe she's the opposite side of the same coin as an Eldritch Knight. Melee, okay, right. Melee, wait, ranged. Well, if we go back and we take a look at Lariakis here, he's the stand back type, right? He's the smarty pants type. We gave him a light crossbow, and it's really kind of in his personality, in the way that he presents himself, he will be a ranged damage dealer, either with magic or with a crossbow or throwing daggers in the combat, more than he'll be as melee focused as, well, especially Liara. But we have Elspeth, who's more the dexterous melee, and we have Roscoe, who Roscoe is a blend, right? Look at his strength and his dex here. You know, he can wield a long sword, and he'll be okay at it, and he can also use finesse if he wishes with a dagger or another weapon he might pick up. You know, his constitution's not the best, though we could make up for that. I didn't go through yet this week and give them spells, but the spells that they take are also extensions of their personality, and it will also help accent what they do in combat. You know, Liara here, she doesn't really need defensive spells. She could, she could take them for sure, but she maybe wants debuff spells, or she wants party buff spells, or if there's something that she can cast alongside of her, right, she gets battle magic, meaning that she can cast a spell and swing her sword at the same time. So some sort of almost like an arcane smiter, like a paladin, right? Mr. Plunderloot, there's a pic in your Discord. Ye be welcome. All right, let's check it out. Call of Cthulhu. Oh, is this a current Kickstarter that people can take a look at, or is this past? And hey, Delcorin, looks like you just started watching. That's right, I'm onto you. I have the psychic powers. Yes, OP. You caught us. You caught us right in the middle of doing a SWOT analysis for the party, which is something that, you know, if you're in business, a SWOT analysis is probably more common to hear. Though in D&D, a SWOT analysis, well, that can do a lot in order to help us as PCs. Right now, we're talking as PCs. Oh, well, there's a side conversation about being a DM, and that's perfectly fine. You all over here, you can talk about whatever's coming up. You can share your stories, ask questions, go from there. But broadly in this segment, we are talking as PCs. You think it's over, Plunderloot? No, and I'm glad you came around for it, OP. So with this now, we can see, all right, if I'm playing Liara, you all know as the rest of my party members, look, I'm going to tank. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to be aggressive. I have taken a suite of spells that, I may not have a lot of them. I'm still a bard, gosh golly darn it. And I'm going to get in there. I'm going to be up in people's faces. Well, all right, so she's a halfling. I will be up on people's kneecaps, and they will not know what's happening. Meanwhile, that is buying the time for others to navigate or to cast or to go, to do whatever they're going to do in their support roles or in their offensive roles. And then, of course, we have our oddball in the party, Revi, who, by the way, very conveniently, by being a monk, you do get training in an instrument. You can take an artisan tool or an instrument. Well, we gave her the tambourine because she's kind of like the choreographer, maybe a backup dancer. But what's nice also is while we randomly rolled Way of Shadow, as a cantrip, she gets Minor Illusion, which means that she can sustain up to 3 different noises, like background noises. So, she can use it to enhance singing or dancing, maybe add a little bit of a glimmer, something along those lines. She can accent her tambourine with some castanets or maracas if she wants to get up and, shimmy, shimmy, shake on the stage. It was funded, though, so maybe a backer kit. Nope, it is not Madoka either, Plunderloot. Okay, so this is where I wanted to open up to you all. We're building this band, we're building the party. With the last party, I wrote up a 2.5 paragraph narrative about how they all could have met each other, who was the hook, who was getting involved here. For this campaign, such as, we're calling our campaigns as a weekly project, I think it's fairly obvious that the band is already together. Right? It doesn't need to be the adventure of our first character that we generated, Elspeth, to go and meet other people, or Revi as the outsider, something along those lines. Nope, it is not. Yeah, we can take off Madoka and Overlord. This anime is probably 10 years old now. I'll give you another clue. I don't know, does that help? It doesn't help me much, but if it helps you. There we go. So while this section is called How Do We Know Each Other, like, they're a band already. But what we can do here is let's make the band. Who's the leader of the band? Who is, is there someone, like, we may have a face leader of the band, but would someone like Elspeth, who's very old, right? She is 556, so I believe this was in the old range. She's been around for a long time. Is she she plays, but is she the manager? Whereas maybe Roscoe is the face, right? Like, he has a huge charisma score. He's the bad boy of the group, right? Look, he's a neutral evil alignment. And in fact, if any of you hadn't seen yet, Karma the Goat took a bit of a fancy to him as we were generating, and she went out of her way to sketch Roscoe. Or is Roscoe more of like an anti-hero in the group? Right? He's neutral evil. That doesn't mean he wants to kill orphans and burn kittens in the street, but maybe he's just using the band to further his own goals. So he's a part of the band, but he's not, he's not indentured to the band, or he doesn't believe that, oh, we're playing to bring people together. He's doing it for his own personal reasons, as evil can oftentimes just imply immense selfishness. Do any of the party members have the leadership backgrounds? Okay, so Elspeth is a sailor, and with her personality, I never pass up a friendly wager. I stretch the truth for the sake of a good story. She believes in respect. The thing that keeps a ship together is mutual respect between captain and crew. She does want revenge on some ruthless pirates that did some bad things when she was younger. And she will say anything to avoid having to do extra work. So that could... that is kind of leadership quality. None of them have a feat, like the leadership feat for the extra hit points. So we're going to have to look at their personality and what they're doing. We have Roscoe, who is kind of the bad boy, as we said, right? He's neutral evil. I know a story relevant to almost every situation. He loves a good insult, even one directed at him. He does believe in honesty. Art should reflect the soul. It should come from within and reveal who we really are. So he's not shy to sing about, what are like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or about, the taboo topics of religion, philosophy, and sex. Or, he'll, as we were saying, I think in that broadcast, he'd be the type who, if he doesn't know, he'll walk up to a lady and say, "Hey, lady, are you overweight or are you pregnant? I'm having a hard time." Because he's not necessarily trying to insult. I mean, he might to challenge, but he also just might be curious, and he doesn't care about, the etiquette of going up and being like, "Ooh, that's not a question you should ask," or if you do, you got to phrase it a lot better. Someone stole his precious instrument, and someday he'll get it back, and he's a sucker for a pretty face, so... Lariakis is a discredited academic sage. The story that we created based on his background here is that he stood up for one of his students, and he took the heat for something that student did, and he was removed from his position of teaching. After that, he was kind of drifting around, and he found himself with the band. I'm horribly, horribly awkward in social situations. He's willing to listen to every side of an argument before he makes his own judgment. No limits. Nothing should fetter the infinite possibility inherent in all existence. It is my duty to protect my students, and I can't keep a secret to save my life or anyone else's. He's probably not the best manager. Liara, lawful good. She's a folk hero. And number 3 means that that background, she stood up to a monster solo. And so she was brave. She faced down this mega monster, and she became a folk hero for it. I missed a couple things. Delcorn says Cap cool. Sergeant Frog. Nope, that is not. It is not from Sergeant Frog. Delcorn, you're joining us. If you can guess the anime that my hat is from, I'll give you some bonus EXP. OP says, do any of the party members have... Oh yeah, that was the leadership. We're getting into that. I'm reading other people arguing about HP, and I found this beautiful quote. Quote, your conclusion that hit points are an imperfect abstraction is not the rousing refutation of my claim that hit points are an imperfect abstraction that you think it is. It sounds like it's rather redundant. Yeah, looking at personality, yep. So we're doing it based off that OP. The SWAT talk, and Mac is missing. Oh no, here we go. So we're bringing the band together, Derek. We're bringing the band together. And OP, I'm going over the personalities so we can say, all right, who's doing what in the band? It is not Sergeant Frog. Nope. Also, Derek, if you can guess from where my hat is, like which anime it's from, I can give you some bonus EXP. It is not Pokemon, Digimon, Monster Rancher are off, as are a handful of other animes that have been brought up. No, it's not Sailor Moon either. It's not Sergeant Frog. It's not Paranoia Agent, and a couple others that were brought up. Your clues so far have been it's about 10 years old. It's about 10 years old, and Avatar, nope. 10 years old. It's a 26 episode anime, and it is based off of a manga, if that helps. Nope, it is not Gurren Lagann. Where would this be from Gurren Lagann? Plunder, have you seen Gurren Lagann? Gurren Lagann's in my top 10, so I'm warning you, man. The Simpsons. Yes, this is Bart Simpson, the son of Mr. Spockaroo. Oh, I'm sorry, OP. So to finish out Liara here, so she stood up to this monster. She became this folk hero, and she is a lawful good alignment, though she has a very interesting personality because of that, right? If someone is in trouble, I'm always ready to lend help. I'm confident in my own abilities and do what I can to instill confidence in others. If she becomes strong, she can take what she wants and what she deserves. So she's pursuing strength because she has these goals. She's willing to help other people, though she has these goals in mind. She has to get stronger. She has to be better. I have a family, but I have no idea where they are. One day, I hope to see them again. And I have a weakness for the vices of the city, especially hard drink. Hard drink is what it says in the book, but whatever a city vice would be, you know, that could be, it could be hard drink. It could be like a sumptuous feast, right? You know, she splurges on sushi or some other exotic cuisine. It could be she takes a spa day. And so we can say, you know, it's like a pleasure of the flesh, but it doesn't have to be a more carnal version of that. It could just be like, look, when we reach the city, you know, I'm off the grid for 24 hours because I'm booking an appointment with my masseuse. What am I missing here? Oh, it is not Madoka Magica. Not enough evil. Yeah, you already guessed that. Yeah, QB is our evil overlord. Babaka says QB is my husbando. It is not Nichijou. Nope. Oh, jeez, plunder loot. It is not Nichijou, although that's a fun one too. Then lastly, we're guaranteed rolling 4 bards. The 5th one, hey, if it's a bard, it's a bard. Though we rolled a monk, and specifically a Way of Shadow monk. So she is folk hero number 6, and the concept to that origin as a folk hero is that she scaled a castle, broke inside, and she stole a bunch of weapons and handed them to the local peasants because she wanted to help free them from a tyrant. Now, do we want to take that literally? We could. Do we want to take that as a concept that she is able to get in and out of places? Like, she was reminding me of Shinobu from Ninja Nonsense as we were building her. She has a neutral good alignment. And she's a big girl. She's got some meat on her bones. Look, 6'1", 229. Which, again, is kind of making me think of different anime characters. Like, she's like the big, gentle giant sweetheart. And we look at her personality. I'm confident in my own abilities and do what I can to instill confidence in others. When I set my mind to something, I follow through no matter what gets in my way. Yosha! Fairness. No one should get preferential treatment before the law, and no one is above the law. I wish my childhood sweetheart had come to me, or had come with me to pursue my destiny. So she has a childhood sweetheart, right? We want to talk about anime characters. But, you know, so somewhere out there, she has a love of someone. You know, what is he or she? Look, whatever. It's the, you know, it's the crystal year 118. We're modern. You know, the age of black powder's right around the corner. And her flaw is the people who knew me when I was young know my shameful secret, so I can never go home again. Now, I think it was Plunderloot that offered his. What is that? What's her shameful secret? You know, is it, oh, I'm 25 and now I can never get married, kind of an anime trope, or oh, I have a scar and I can never get married. You know, was it something else, like, I don't know, she got into a fight and, you know, she destroyed something and it fell on a cat and died, and the cat died, and so she's like, oh no. Is it, you know, was it something like she was known as a bedwetter or something? Like, is it like that? Is it personal? Or as Plunderloot put, maybe in her home culture, wherever it is, it was customary that everyone gets a tattoo, and so maybe she didn't opt to get the tattoo, and that is actually her shame, because she kept her body pure instead of going with the custom, and so that is her shameful secret. And she can't go home because she doesn't wear the markings of her village or whatnot. Let's see. The only anime I watched is Outlaw Star, Last Exile, Robotech, A Little Ghost in the Shell, Knights of Sidonia, and Blame. Oh, Delcorn, you have a good roster going for you. Last Exile and Outlaw Star are also on my top 10. So we have Gurren Lagann, Last Exile, and Outlaw Star that are up there. Hey Jack, it's good to see ya. Darkwolf just got home, not in the greatest of moods. Uh-oh, what happened, Darkwolf? By the way, for those of you who are just joining, if you can guess the origin of my hat, which anime it's from, I will give you some bonus EXP, and maybe a little bit more if you can even tell me what it is. 61229 instills confidence. That sounds like someone I would want leading me. That could very well be. She doesn't have to be, you know, super shy OP. Darkwolf Owu, though. It is not Space Dandy, funny man. Although I will tell you that in concept, there is a character maybe not far off. So there's another clue, as you all are putting out some good guesses. Yes, or the tattoo that she would not take to gain her womanhood. Yeah, that could be it too, right? So it's not even just a tattoo. It's something that is a rite of passage. Hey, Avelion, it's good to see you. Welcome to you too. Ghost in the Shell is my jam. GITS is good stuff. I like it, Bobicus, also. Plunderloot, I like Shiki most. It is best in life. Shiki is bae. I almost at first I was thinking you were talking about Shakugan no Shana. Are we doing the random card gen? No, Evelion, we have generated our 5 characters, and so now what we're doing as we're creating our campaign tonight to end the week's broadcast, we are making a character sheet of our for the party, consisting of our 5 characters. And so now, after having gone over our strengths and where people are trained, we're bringing the party together, and we're going to define them, you know, based on roles and who's doing that. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, isn't it? Nope, I'm sorry, Bobicus, it is not. Work issues, to keep it simple, we're far too understaffed and you had to stay late. Oh, no, that's fine too. And hey, I'm glad you gave out a customary woo. Shauna is also bae. You're his best waifu, right, Mac? Evelion, oh dear. Roles in 5e. Well, it's not necessarily an assigned roles. This is just listing what they're going to be better at, or like what their strengths are in certain situations. But just saying high magic, look, we have 4 bards. This could be Healy, it could be offense, it could be debuffing, it could be buffing. These are placeholders to just show that in the midst of this, well, this is a unique party, so it's a unique situation. King is baest of all baes. No Cheeseros Bay. Oh boy, this is gonna get into this kind of a situation right here. I was able to use my phone and catch a little of the stream while staying late, though. Oh well, thank you, Dark Wolf. So OP was thinking that maybe Revy, Revy would be more of a party leader because of her strength, her imposing physical demeanor, right? She's 6'1", 229. She does have this confidence. When she sets her mind to something, she follows through. She does believe in fairness. Oh, thank you, Dark Wolf. I really appreciate that. Back at home, she's a childhood sweetheart somewhere, some way, somehow. And, but of course she carries this shameful secret, so maybe the band, like if she's the manager, she never brings the band back through her hometown. And another option would be, we have Elspeth von Elderberry, aka Eve. She's definitely a matron figure in the group, right? She was a sailor. And she tries to promote respect. She was aboard this ship for probably some time, helping other people. She has a very good disposition. Evelian, I do agree, though, because we're not role playing the characters, we're using our poetic license in who we believe would be, based on our observations and our own opinions, who would be. It doesn't even have to be party leader. What is the role in the band? Who is the manager? Who's the lead singer? That's probably actually going to be Roscoe. Who's the drummer? Who would be really good at percussion? And go from there. But you are correct. It should be established through RP in a real life setting. As you get what I'm saying. Well, Plunder Loot, I definitely think it's going to be Roscoe in that case. Because Roscoe, he is the bad boy, right? Here, I'll pop back over. If any of you didn't see, because Karma the Goat did an excellent job illustrating. He has the entertainer background, and he can juggle, breathe fire, and sing are his specialties as an entertainer. He does have an extremely high charisma, and he's the bad boy, right? He's the neutral evil one here. So it'd just be, who would be doing what? Is Revy the manager? We already said she can do some backup dancing, right? We gave her a tambourine. Maybe she has some castanets or some maracas. She can play an instrument, and that's what we gave her as the tambourine. But with her mobility, with her special effects from her powers, we were thinking she's... now, that doesn't mean she can't be the manager. She's just, in the performance front of the band, she's a choreographer. We also gave her weaver's tools because she does costume design and such. But based on the personalities, what resonates with you? If this was a party you were playing in, how would we be forming it? What would we be saying? Okay, in the band section, in the performance section, what would you be? What would you be doing? Noob question alert. If you do all of this on a PDF, how will you change stats throughout the game? Yep, they are editable. So for instance, Jack, if you come here, you see how everything is blue right here? If we increase Revy's dexterity to 18, bink, and then we just go 4, and then we drop in, we just replace everything else over here. So yeah, you can use they're form fillable PDFs. Oh, and if they're printed, you can just use a pen or pencil if you want. Though, I mean, you only get stat bumps every 4 levels. And it's easy in a large box like this if you just leave more space in between it to write in the names of your abilities. OP, I think having someone be the face and the manager as 2 different people is probably a good idea. I would agree too. You could just print out new ones, Be sure to recycle your old. It's an editable sheet. Yeah, it makes sense. So he's probably the face of the band as we're making him. So then we have Elspeth, who is the more matronly, leader or figure, not leader. We have Lariakis, who's very shy in front of people. Like he may perform, but he's probably very reserved. He's the discredited professor. He actually grew hybrid spicy peppers. And something happened where he stood up for one of his students and he was fired for it. He is a discredited academic who's painfully shy. Then we have Liara, and she is the strength powerhouse. Look at this. Would you believe she's a bard with a 19 strength and a 10 charisma, rolling up on you with an 18 AC, shield bonus, and a longsword? Must be more of the killing. Ask him again. Oh, you didn't say it was okay? Oh. Hey, Barbarian Jim. Cheers to you as well. Evelian, yes you may. Thank you for asking. Oh, hey, oh, King. Last night's 3.5 game was not a TPK as I had hoped. I did, unfortunately, because we ended up missing it. I did read, though, it looked like there was some kind of a civil war within the party that broke out, or was I reading the wrong episode title? OP, Maynard James Keenan performs in the dark on stage, so just because they don't like being in front of doesn't mean they can't be in front. Yeah. Look, these are bards. We have pyrotechnics, we have dancing lights, we can, actually, Revi can create darkness as per her ability, and that's even if bards... I forget offhand if bards can even get darkness. If not, she can even create darkness for special effects. Oh, okay. So, Evelian's sharing the 5-man band trope. The big guy, the smart guy, the leader, the lancer, and the heart. It could be this. It doesn't have to be. Because, yeah, like these are... This is sort of like adventuring party, and we do have an adventuring party. Though they are musicians even before they're adventurers. Kind of. Funny man's given up. Oh. You got the right episode title. One of the players was going to kill the wizard for, making them war deserters. Instead, they all ran away together like good little ducklings. The monk who wanted to kill the wizard died to gunfire running away alone in the night. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, because I'm reading back and forth of Elian, like, here's the big guy, and he has the axe, and then we have the cape, and the, and all this, so... So, this is something that we can use as a guideline for sure. Do we have to? Not necessarily. But here's a resource that Ivalon has shared with us, and you are welcome to use this as a reference for what we're doing, or for something else that you're composing yourself for your own game. Barbarian, I'm just home from watching my friends in a 5-man band play funky psychedelic rock at the local brewery. Speaking of bards. Well, there you go, Barbarian. If you want to impose your friends on our characters, we are getting the band back together tonight. Evelion, the 5-man rock band phenomenon, 4 guys and a girl singer, is no longer as current as it once was. It was very hard to escape the 60s and 70s. However, the group structure, as you'll see in the examples, turns up in a lot of storytelling, like a whole lot of storytelling. Eltron, taking a break from writing and sketching. I have been listening to character creation stuff, but I missed if anyone guessed. No one has guessed properly yet, Eltron, where the hat is from. Plunder Loot, it is also dependent on the players and the GM. Yeah, it might not work for all groups. But you know what? We're all kinds of loosey-goosey around here. We're storytellers. That allows us to play with what I call plot putty. Right? Plot putty is this wonderful substance that when you see maybe a gap in something, you kind of like peel off a chunk of it and you go and you fill it in, and then everything is nice and smooth. Oh yeah, for the 5-man band, Plunder Loot. And you know what? As bards, you technically are proficient in 3 different kinds of instruments. So we don't even have to have the drummer. Maybe they even back up for each other. Or look, maybe elven drumming is different from, is different from halfling drumming. You know, with a different set of drums or a different, cadence or different abilities. You know, you have her small hands. She's strong. But maybe they're both drummers and they just drum in different ways. But if, we're also talking about things just broadly, that they're all going to play instruments. That's obvious. Even our monk can, because she gets that as a monk and we gave her a tambourine or some sort of like a dancing percussion. Though, if Roscoe's the face of the band, we have Revy as the manager, which could be interesting because intelligence isn't her big thing. But you know what? If she's flying by insight, then she's got insight into things. So, what would Elspeth be doing? What would Lariakis be doing? What would Liara be doing in the band? It's obvious that they're together when we pick up this campaign. They're already a band. They've already performed. Now, are they super popular? Maybe not. And in fact, that's what we're going to explore in the next segment, is how to go about making some kind of an episodic campaign. It doesn't have to be one big grand story arc. It could be broken up into a series of episodes with downtime in between. So it's almost like if the Scooby-Doo gang could level up in between episodes, right? So every episode would be, every part of the campaign would be a milestone. And it's the mystery of whatever, or it's, earning the performance of, X and X city. That kind of a thing. Revy sounds like a good The Heart character. Peacekeeping role, balance out the other members' aggression, bringing them to a nice or at least manageable medium. The chick is often considered the heart of the group. This role is played by a woman or girl, someone female. Otherwise, it is not a 5-man band. Maybe. Evelian, I could even say, look, we have Elspeth here, or Eve, as she'd go by. She is very much like the wizened grandmotherly type, right? She wants to keep mutual respect with her crew as a sailor, which translates over to the band. She's bringing her age and her wisdom and her experience to bear. Stupid think meat. Tycho, Fred gains more trap knowledge. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Funny man, you'll be back in a bit watching a movie. Hey, no problem. Do what you gotta do. We'll see you later. We'll be around. Wizen sounds more like the smart guy, just saying. Possibly. She has some intelligence. In fact, if we look up here, right? Technically, Lariakis is the most intelligent because he is a former professor. Which, by the way, I gave him Infernal. Because if you're growing chili peppers and you're trying to get the hottest one, if you can make a tiefling go, whoo, you know that you're onto something. Oh, Fred from the Scooby-Doo gang. Got it. All right. Got it. Got it. So, I mean, do we have to fill these in tonight and right now? Not necessarily. You all are thinking. You all are looking over. In fact, I uploaded these characters on our Discord in the past content, #past content channel. So you can download them. You can play around with them. These aren't finished because they don't have their spells. But you know what? Why don't you give them spells that are expressions of their personality, right? Are all of them going to learn the cure spell? Maybe not. Maybe a couple of them for redundancy or something. Are all of them going to take the same cantrips? I sure hope not. They've all led different lives. You know, especially Elspeth has the luxury of taking, by virtue of being a high elf, she gets a nice wizard cantrip here too, which can be completely different. But you can download them and play around with them, but we've had a conversation. We've thought about it. Evelian very kindly provided a link to this site, which does have, you know what, just because it's a trope doesn't mean you can't use it. I mean, I can challenge you to come up with a better mousetrap, and you know what? One of you might actually be able to do so. Otherwise, buy a mousetrap that you know that works. Fred, let's split up, gang. Me and Daphne will go... Jeez. I'll give you another clue for the hat, by the way. The main character is blonde. And is human. She is human and has blonde hair. Now, and if you all want to continue to suggest roles, I will come up here and we can fill those in. Though, if I have your think meats, as Mr. Plunderloot said, if I have your think meats pulsing or, you know, firing electricity, which is, it's interesting when you describe like things like that, right? We're water bags, and we communicate by squirting air through our meat. It's true-ish. Mostly. Enough to get through. We're water bags that communicate by squirting air through our meat. Oh, shoot. Caden's going on an epic journey. It all comes down to this. Can you defeat the dreaded Tarrasque? Only a 20 or greater can defeat it. You attack with disadvantage with a +6. Oh, no. The 6 + 6 is 12, and Caden gets squished beneath the Tarrasque. Or, depending if you want to feel sassy, the Tarrasque. The dreaded Tarrasque. Okay, now, we're going to get to the SWOT report of the party. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The first two portions of this are internal to the party. These are things that are a part of them and that they have better control over. The opportunities and threats are external. These are things that they really can't do anything about. Whoop, Caden's asking for a res, please. Whew, I'd almost say that no amount of clapping can bring you back from whence the Tarrasque sent you. A female Dragonborn fighter. Okay, well, so I guess your corpse was imprinted with a little bit of kind of like ancient reptilian DNA, and we rebuilt you. It's just that we had to fill in some parts with frog genes, Caden, so enjoy. Delcorin is going into the forest, and Ettercap pops out, 10 or 6. Hey, and Delcorin defeats the Ettercap. There we go. Plunderl, you know what it is? An anime from the land of Japan, and about 10 years old. Buyer Think Meats combined will figure this out. Hopefully you do. To King, to war! To Warg, 14 and 8. Hey, King Von Ale does go to Warg and wins. There you go. Tycho Boom, we are water bags that communicate by squirting air through our meat. This kind of introspection is too much for my 100% true good mind. Yes, have at you, hoppers. Oh yeah, Caden soloed Stradvan Zarovich as a female fairy warlock. Yep, Delcorn just needs a little bit more before random hold my beer. Okay, let's look at the strengths of our party. Skills. We have every skill covered by at least one person, and if you see, there are many that have 2, some that have 3. Though you could argue where you see an italicized name, that's because in this case Lariakis has a expertise in Arcana. And I mean, do you want to say that he counts for 2? You can. Though this is still yellow because if Lariakis isn't around to make the Arcana check, then it's only 1 in 5 people can make it, so it's a caution level. Right? We're good if we have redundancy, we're really good if we have more redundancy. So skills for sure. Internally, we have all the magics. We can heal, we can damage, we can buff, we can debuff. We are very magically inclined and very magically set. That is a strength. We can do all of this. All the magics and all the attacks. We have our frontline, like, fighter. Like, kind of the different side, like the opposite side of an Eldritch Knight. We have this in-your-face, beat-em-up bard. Oh, Caden's going into a dungeon, wants to try and get some revenge as a Dragonborn. Do you make it 12 and 10? Yeah, 10 plus 2 is 12. Caden must have poison resistance from the Draconic Heritage, and just goes, oh, that was tasty, but I've had better. There you go. Delcorin's taking a stroll through the plains. A wolf spider jumps out and promptly eats Delcorin. Yep, Hogu indeed. King Von Alay no longer sends Delcorin's mother gems worth at least 10,000 every month. Now, as we also look, what are the internal strengths of our party? Travel. Not only do we have one character that is proficient with water vehicles, we actually have two that are proficient with land vehicles. Whether it's themselves driving a caravan, you know, we could give this band a mystery machine. Like, we can give them a couple wagons if we really wanted to, right? They're traveling performers. Maybe one is their trailer that they live in, and someone else, like one of them is driving the trailer, the other one's hauling the gear in the other one. And you know what? These are names. If we want to put in How Do We Know Each Other? By the way, what's the band's name? What do we want to call them? And, you know, we can give them wagons and donkeys or horses or whatever. Maybe they're pulled by, I don't know, something fantastic. You know, maybe they're pulled by unseen servants because you want to get that cool factor. But travel, look, navigator's tools, water vehicles, and land vehicles. They can get around with ease, especially because as part of the background feature of Sailor, you still have a connection with someone on the waterfront. And so water travel, even if they're not traveling themselves, is going to be easier. We have two folk heroes, right? Being a folk hero, you get the rustic hospitality. They're recognized in certain portions, and people will do what they can to help out. So they will be expected, and they can receive lodging if they need to, even protection from people if they're being chased down. And with Roscoe having, by popular demand, you know, if he's the face of the band, then people are going to, you know, that's going to help generate funds. People will pay, if only Roscoe, but, you know, or the band itself. He can help get the gigs. But if we're going to have Revy be the manager, maybe he passes on, like, look, I'm tossing the baby to you. Here it is. I got the gig. You set it up. And then he's going to go and kind of do his own thing. The plunder, loot, avenge Delcorin. Will there be roadies? There could be. There's nothing saying, look, Barbarian, they can have... Now, none of them mechanically have something like the noble feat. Or not the noble feat. The noble background, which gives you followers. But if we're going to give them wagons and some beasts of burden to haul them, we can't say that there's not going to be a couple people who travel along with them. That's reasonable. In a D&D situation, as players, if we say that they're following us, they're coming along, we don't have to babysit them. And as a DM, we don't have to worry about it too, because those are going to be non-combatants. Or if they are combatants, they're not going to last that long on the battlefield, that's for sure. Oh, plunder loot, I'm sorry. Yeah, you went into the plains, even with disadvantage, 9 or 13. Yeah, 9 and 2 is 11. You got there, and you win 100 EXP. There you go. Thought the monk was the roadie? She could be. You know, in talking it out because of her personality, you know, the way that she wants, like, she sets her mind to things, she's confident in her abilities. She could still be the roadie. But earlier when we were talking it through, it was brought up that maybe she'd actually make a good manager. Maybe not, I don't know. If you want her to be a little bit smarter to be a manager, we can put her as the roadie or the, you know, the stage crew or something like that. And you could give it to someone else, like Lariakis is a numbers guy. He's a former professor. He could be the manager, the organizer. Or if you want someone more balanced, because look, I mean, he's smart, but he's not as wise, and he's very socially awkward. You could give it to Elspeth, and she wants everyone to get along. She wants to earn respect. She has a balance of intelligence and wisdom. We can play around with it. It's not a big deal. She's yandere and Roscoe is senpai. Oh, do you think that she would, Mr. Plunderloot, do you think that that Revi would actually be after Roscoe here? Because at least as it was put forward by Whitefire earlier, Liara might end up being the one as a fellow stout halfling to pursue Roscoe. Unless we have a weird, like, love triangle going on that can create an inner conflict, which, hey, that can happen. If we're DMs and our players are willing to face challenges like that about relationships with each other, you know, especially if they're not playing, you know, if I'm a male character playing a female, and I have even a male character playing a male character, it's a personal comfort level, but are you comfortable role-playing the relationship being built between your two characters? Especially if you're not as open to those kinds of relationships in real life. Can you make that distinction and set it aside? That said, you know, as a DM or whatnot, those things shouldn't be forced. You should have a talk with your players before something like that is put out there. Roscoe Coltrane. So, these are the internal strengths of the party. They can travel, they can find jobs in hospitality. They have plenty of magic, whether it's attacks or healing or whatever, and skills for days. As well, the scores are going to be fairly well balanced between everyone. So fair balance of ability scores. Weaknesses. Everything but Dex or Charisma. Okay? Even Revi is also proficient in Dex, so she's the only one who has something different for strength. And this could come in handy, but, you know, if you need to make intelligence saving throws or wisdom saving throws, you know, think about the spells that cause intelligence saving throws and wisdom saving throws. Could that be a big detriment, right? Yes, we do get counter charm, but that's, you know, that's going to be very redundant among the party. And Elspeth is already immune. So if you're forcing, if we as a party go up against, I don't know, a wizard, a sorcerer, or something, even a trap that requires maybe an int or a wisdom save, we're in trouble. Now against fireballs, oh, we're good, right? A lot of those big AOE. If we're going against a con save, ooh. We have, like, Liara here has a pretty good con saving throw. Look, 3. She's not proficient. No one's proficient in it. But, you know, she can take a hit better than others. But if you're rolling a cloud kill down a hill at them, and they get engulfed in that poison, that's going to cause some trouble. Also, if we take a look, where are they the weakest? Con 8, 10, 12. Now we do have a 16 and a 14, and those are Liara and Revi they're healthy girls. Maybe it's strength. Maybe strength and con is kind of the dump stats here. We can even just say that there is a general physical weakness. You can look at the skills. 3 of them are proficient in athletics, but that doesn't mean that they're strong. Like, yes, if they're using athletics to climb or something, that's not necessarily representative of their strength. And of course, we're rolling in Constitution in there as well. Cast a Gust of Wind, bam, solves Cloud Kill. And you know what? Maybe some of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them actually have that as a spell if bards can take that. Though you just have to think, what are the spells that cause con saves? What are the spells that cause int saves? What are the spells that that cause wisdom saves? Because there's some powerful magic that can do bad stuff that is forcing that. So this is a weakness because it's intrinsic to the party. It's something that really can't be helped, and it is just it is the weakness of it is the weakness of our people here, right? 1, 2, 3, and Elspeth has 2 of herself. A weakness is also if Larry or Eve are gone, several skills are unavailable at proficiency, but those yellows go to no one, right? They're read out. We can put an X, and especially because Lariakis here has the knowledges. You know, he's also the stealth if something happens to him. So we do have 2 characters that are linchpins in a couple skills that are very important. That if something were to happen, we don't have total redundancy within the party. I know a counter to that is, look, 4 of the 5 party members have Jack of all trades. So they're never going to be totally bad, even if they have a dump stat. Let's see, am I missing any other... We do not have Dwarven as a party language, or any of, you know, like Supernal and whatnot, Primordial. But of the common languages, we are missing Dwarven. Now, that's not necessarily a weakness. If you've been following along with our Mesotopia campaign creation, there's not a lot of dwarves that are at least native to any of the lands of Mesotopia. So not knowing Dwarven may not be a problem. That said, there is a lack of the Dwarven language, and dwarves have been in a lot of places, have built a lot of things, have come up with techniques and guidebooks, or could be responsible for ruins that are uncovered later on. You get kind of close to Dwarven with Gnomish because it's the same alphabet. So as a DM, could you say, yeah, you can infer, right? It might be the difference between Spanish and Portuguese, or, you know, Italian and French. You might be able to pick up some stuff. And yet there's no Draconic, and there are dragons and Dragonborn that are present in Mesotopia. As far as alignment, I mean, besides Roscoe, everyone else will be pretty well aligned with what they wish to do. And we've already described that Roscoe sticks out. I mean, we can even say down here in a weakness, Roscoe could be a weakness of the group, right? His own independent streak and the fact that he's using the band to meet his own goals primarily, instead of just getting together as a job or to have fun and play for other people. So whoever's in our party and is playing Roscoe, I mean, I don't know if any of you want to call dibs, but if you're playing Roscoe, it's going to be a fun challenge. In fact, maybe even Derek can step up and say, hey, this is what it's like playing an evil character in a good party. You know, obviously without the murdering kittens and orphans thing. That is not a command, Jack, but if you look up here. Oh, there we go. Oh, shoot, that is a command. I forgot. I did put that in there. That was a while ago, and not too many people use that one, so thank you, Jack. Oh, Derek, so we were discussing that that Roscoe could be... he could be considered a weakness for the party, because generally, look, we have lawful good, neutral good, lawful good, neutral good. And so the sore thumb here is Roscoe. And while he is a neutral evil character, you know, he's not going to go out and just murder people in the venues. He's a part of the band. But if you're playing Roscoe, I mean, you as you, Derek, or you as, I'm just addressing you out there in Chatland. If you're playing Roscoe, you are probably going to be using the band for a different purpose. You're going to have a more independent streak than everyone else. You don't have to be like the brooding edgelord, you know, anti-hero. You could be. There's nothing stopping you. But you don't have to fall into that trope. But you are going to have a very different outlook than the other people. And especially if we empower Roscoe as the lead singer or the face of the band, that could be a weakness, right? Oh, please elaborate on the benefits of evil. Jack, yeah, no problem. I thought I added your videos yesterday, but I couldn't find them. Okay, yep. And I'm sorry I dripped out about that. I think you're one of the only people who've used that so far in my memory. So yeah, so Derek, if you want to climb inside of Roscoe's head a little bit, like how you would do that, or in not just to pick on you or to, you know, I'm not trying to character paint you, Derek, that you only play evil characters or whatever. But if you want to offer a unique perspective, because you're actually a person who's willingly stepping up in many instances to play an evil character. But for everyone besides Derek, think about it. If you are playing an evil character in a good party, think of the challenge involved. Think of maybe the fine lines you have to walk sometimes. Think that we're going to have to sit down out of character and say, okay, we're probably going to have to face internal conflict and moments of breakthrough. Because if you're playing Roscoe correctly, he is not going to be jiving with everyone all of the time. You know, he may travel with everyone and get along there, but as soon as they settle in the city, maybe, boo, he goes off on his own and he only shows up like 5 minutes before the performance, and 5 minutes after the performance is done, he's gone and doing something else, leaving everyone else to, you know, to their own business. The band would be his meal ticket. He has the experience to see others who may sabotage his band. He has a very personal relationship with them because ultimately they are what lets him maintain his lifestyle. Oh, and thank you, Jack. Delcorin is going on a random hold my beer. You attack Orcus, the demon prince of undeath. You need a 20 or greater. You attack normally. 15 plus 6. Hey, you just get there, Delcorin. I don't know if I don't think you're a female tabaxi bard or anything anymore. However, you do bring down the Demon Prince of Undeath and earn 4,000 EXP. I agree, Perugia. So now Peru, that means you have to duel Delcorin for like 1,000. Yeah, finally. He knows they are naive, and if they are only good in his life, he's going to protect that. It's a case of don't stain your hands as I did. So he's not interested in changing his lifestyle, but he could want to prevent the others from going down this path. Because we did even bring up, too, for Roscoe, that maybe he grew up in a controlling household. It could have been even, you know, affluent. His parents were doctors, and they wanted him to be a doctor, too. And so he has this training. In fact, look, we gave Roscoe medicine. Now, of course, that was also for other reasons, right? He's eating fire and whatnot. He's been burned. Even Olympic skiers fall down face first in the snow when they're practicing, and they break limbs. So maybe he was his parents were forcing him to do something, and he actually escaped from that. It could have been an education, an arranged marriage, or something else like that. And he wanted to be his own person, and so he found these people who are somewhat allowing for that. Derek says maybe it gives him hope because it's not what he can do on an emotional or spiritual level. Instead, he won't let them lessen themselves in the public's eyes, and so he has to use subterfuge and evil deeds in the background to protect them from themselves and others. Yeah, hey Derek, I appreciate the input, and you know, if any of you out there are picking up some cool RP vibes from Derek's take on Roscoe, you know, show him a little love, give him a heart or something in chat, because you know, again, we tend to fall to the stereotype of evil characters wake up in the morning and they say, I'm a bad guy and I'm gonna do bad guy stuff, and that includes murdering orphans and kittens. That doesn't have to be the case. As a side note, I don't mind being pigeonholed in that light, so long as I get to serve as a positive example of evil. Yep, that's it. Well, you know, Derek, that's why I called on you, because we have a good group with the exception of the one evil character. So how can we, you know, especially if we have people who are new to D&D, or new to role playing, or even if they're not, but they've never really broken out of that mindset, how do we square that circle, as I say, you know? How do we come to terms with the fact we have an evil party member, but being an evil party member doesn't mean you have to just stab your parties, you know, your people in the back at every chance. You don't have to pick their pockets. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to like steal stuff from them or murder them or torture them. Mr. Plunderloot, he's the one pulling the strings with the Thieves Guild and with corrupt lords to get them gigs. I mean, it would fit in with that. Maybe he goes and explores those connections. That could very well be. Oh, also, weakness. A lack of dark vision. I just remembered that. The only person with dark vision in the party is Elspeth. Now, fortunately, she's really good at perception. And you know what? Revi can cast dark vision as a spell, and bards might be able to get it too, but there's a lack of natural dark vision in the party. So if something were to happen, or you do need to be super sneaky without magical means, which could be detected or otherwise, it could make some investigations more difficult. Maybe he is a made man, so to speak. Possibly Plunder Loot. If you're entertaining... Look, all of you out there are going to have different versions of Roscoe in your heads. You're going to have different versions of Eve, or Elspeth von Elderberry, in your heads. Some of you might look at her, oh, she was a sailor, and yeah, you know, she's lawful good, but that doesn't mean that she's not going to be kind of that very earthy personality. She'll talk about, oh, when I was your age, the things I would do, you know, I'd take a tumble in any tavern, or... you know, so maybe she's like that gruff, you know, she tells all the cool grandma stories, and she doesn't care about mentioning, you know, personal details or whatever. Or she's the very kindly pie baking grandma, right? She knows how to cook, she looks after you, she tells you moral tales. She uses learning lessons. She could very well be either of those. Maybe she's nothing like that, and you just see her as, maybe she's just very quiet. She's seen a lot of things, and so when she speaks, everyone listens, because Grandma doesn't speak that often. But when she does, you better listen to her. Each of these are the same character, but in your own minds, you're playing it out differently. And that's why it's a bit of a detachment. As we're making these characters throughout the course of the week, we're furnishing a personality, and we're giving a 3D-ness, but it's like a simulacrum, right? It's like a golem, or I don't know. We could think of some anime tropes, like, you know, it's a saber marionette doll. They can speak, they can smile, they have all this, but they're robots. You have to pilot them. You ultimately, like, we'll give you the form, and we'll give you direction, and we'll do all that. You have to, like, sleeve yourself in the character and take him or her out for the spin. And you engage in the dialogue. You play Elspeth as you want. You play Roscoe as you want. You play Revi. Is Revi more of like a shy, kind of like ninja style, right? Because Way of Shadow's kind of like a ninja, even though it's a monk. You know, is she like the shy, big girl who's like, she's powerful, she's confident, but she's confident in her own abilities, maybe she's shy around other people, or something like that? Or is she that, no, like, I'm the harem of anime girls tropes. I'm the sporty one who's so full of energy, and I'm gonna go out and do everything and go out and succeed. Do you want to play her as that? Do you want to play her as more the reserve type? that's up to you. We can give her personality traits and we can discuss general concepts, but hey, this is your character to enjoy. Revi is still the ninja waifu. Yeah, again, Plunder Loot, if you want to look it up, this is not a clue to the hat, but if you look up an anime called Ninja Nonsense, she kind of reminds me of a character named Shinobu from it. Mighty Greedo, hey, welcome back. There are plenty of real-life examples where a rock band has had members with very different personalities. I don't know about evil per se, but definitely personality conflicts. Van Halen comes to mind, Guns N' Roses, the Rolling Stones, lots of tension in those bands, even though they were all successful bards. And that is a very good lesson, Greedo. Us talking about them as a band isn't, we don't have to just boil it down to they're a band and they're going to be together and they're all happy. We could play them like the Scooby Gang if we really want to. Or we can play them in an example that Greedo gave. These are not unknown bands. These are major bands who have toured all around the world, and yet they have internal squabbles and problems with each other and personalities or substance abuse or other things like that, run-ins with the law. Clark, so I had a good gameplay this afternoon in FIFA, got to 25-1. The gameplay went to poo and fell to 28-8. Never had a more love-hate relationship with the game before. Yeah, so Clark is giving us the... because he enjoys FIFA as a video game, he's been giving us sort of like the state of the community updates. Babika says, I've already plugged Pez at you, right? Pez just isn't any good. Babika says, filthy lies. It's a mechanically better game. You're just blinded by star power. Oh man, Clark, you got called out. And also, if you're new here, over the course of the week, we generated 5 random characters. Well, the first 4 were guaranteed bards because we're doing an experiment, okay? And now we're pulling together the base statistics to make a character sheet for the party. And we're down to the point where we're making a SWOT analysis for our party. Strengths and weaknesses are internal to the group, the things that can and can't be helped internally. And we have some pretty good, pretty good and you could argue balanced strengths and weaknesses. Now we need to look outside of the party. What are external opportunities for them, and what are external threats that could harm them? Things that they can't control. I'm sorry, but I can't get into a game that has so many big clubs and players turned into generic logos and faces. It's just a fundamental need for me. Bobicus, you are ruining Clark's immersion. Mechanics be darned. Threats are competing bands. If you want to start putting that out there, right? Especially if they're touring, if they are touring around, we have 2 halflings, we have 2 humans, right? Yeah, we have 2 halflings, 2 humans, and an elf. There could very well be racial tension or mistrust. Like, oh, we don't want halflings playing in our country. What are you talking about? Or you take those you take that stuff out of here. We don't like your rock and roll. It's making the hips shimmy too much. So we can't have a racial tension or mistrust. Other competing bands that are maybe way more popular, or bands that are way more ruthless, right? We have a generally good party, and it's not that these people are just going to roll over if there's conflict, but let's say that we have a party that's the opposite. What if there's one good guy in the party and the rest is evil? I don't know if you would want to give sort of a bird's eye view of how that could play out, Derek, but if you're a band and you're willing to do anything to get to the top, and that means you're willing to do anything, you could casting couch your way to the top. You could lie, cheat, steal, or worse, you could murder your way to the top. You can be dishonest, run a smear campaign. The fact that they are mostly good, and the evil person who's with them isn't bad. He's just selfish. Competing bands. So a threat is overly good, can lead to attacks physically or on their coin or reputations. Because maybe they'll refuse to play in a certain venue, right? If it's known as a really seedy operation, or the clientele they don't want as a part of their fan base. Dark Wolf, oh, you want to call the band Short and Tall? Now, if any of you are also, are you? Yeah, okay. Are you all still hearing music? Last night it was a problem where there was no music that was coming out. Their main opponents, the Metalocalypse, singers of death metal. They found a way to use all the star power and big names without needing to buy the rights. There's no interdimensional copyright law to get in their way. Or you mean international? I mean, if we're talking interdimensional, then we're in a whole other soccer league here. Okay, yep, I changed it over to soft waves. That's, yep. Uh-oh, Caden, hold someone's beer. Or someone hold Caden's beer. Lulf. It's worth 5k if you can defeat her. Disadvantage? Oh, nope. Caden, Caden is escorted off the premises by Lulf, and we'll just fade to black, and I'll let your own imaginations fill in what happens, because I got to keep this stream PG-13. Oh, they're using it from Earth, too. Well, fortunately, I guess Caden must have dropped a hair or a fingernail or something, and we were able to bring him back. Good. Loth will add another Drider to the hordes. So, do any of you others see any of their external opportunities or threats? We do have, as far as opportunities go, because they have a strength in travel. An opportunity could be. Oh, the Mesotopia region, remember, if you've been with us for a while, there's this overlying threat of war, right? There's conflict within each region itself, and even sometimes between regions of Mesotopia. However, as we've been building and building the story, there's also this external invading force that's getting ready. So an opportunity, bring levity, distraction, or contemplation to a war-fearing region. All right, even during the Great Depression, that's when we saw in the U.S. here, we saw the entertainment industry spike. You know, it was making money even in the Great Depression, because not only were movies novel, it was a way to distract yourself from what was happening in life. So they have the potential, and it's kind of a tragic one, right? Because if people are so scared of war, but they want to hear your tales, but you can go and you can ameliorate. Ooh, we're going to use vocab words. We will ameliorate the woes of the people of the lands. Opportunities, they could go to language-dependent areas. Yeah, that's true. They can. By the way, as a strength, they can make or cover songs in almost all the native languages or cultures. That's a good strength, which can translate over into an opportunity external. Or as OP was saying, they could go to language-dependent areas, as it seems they only lack Dwarven and Draconic. Maybe they've... Yeah, there's nothing saying that they also can't do comedy bits, like a vaudeville. as a threat, if they're they're super specialized. Super specialization can lead to easy exploits, right? If they are popular, if they've done the same songs and they're so super specialized, it's easy to work around them. It's easy to supplant them, or people who are willing to bring in the draconic lyrics, or if people are willing to bring in native gnomish speakers, not just someone who can speak the language, but someone who's a part of the culture and is a gnome themselves. Oop, not humans and elves. They have 2 humans and 2 halflings. Humans and halflings are very prodigious throughout Mesotopia. And so they will hit a big core demographic of the region, let alone a particular country. And I'm sorry if you guys are newer here, if you haven't been around for the creation of our Mesotopia region, or even earlier when we were map making and we were going over the regions, take my word for it. But as we're doing this SWOT analysis, right? SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, we have to look to what is internal to the party that's a strength, internal is a weakness. What is an external opportunity? Where can they go? Like, what is their niche, their niche, whatever you want to call it? What is an opportunity that they can exploit very well that is outside of them? What is something that is out there that they can do very well? As an opportunity also, they can do more than sing. In fact, this kind of goes off of what Plunder Loot was saying. Maybe the vaudeville act. Maybe they're fine if they don't go into a concert, but if someone's willing to pay them to... we can invoke Scooby-Doo, right? Like, someone's willing to pay him to sleep in the haunted house for a night to make sure it's not haunted so that they can inherit it from their dead uncle. This party has a ton of skills. It is 4/5 bard. They can do a lot of stuff. Right? So they can do more than just sing. They can adventure. They can take odd jobs, Adventurers Guild jobs, stuff like that. Can the gnomes have one tribe that are all cannibals so you can have pygmy headhunters? Well, gnomes are popular down in Ukt, which is kind of our heavy forest jungle region. I think they're rock gnomes, though. No, wait. They might be forest gnomes. OP, suppose if there are war-fearing areas, might there also be areas where entertainers would not be welcomed? That could be true. That could be true too, right? So a threat could be travel restrictions because of threat of war. Also, several of the regions do have a famine or a disease going by. So threat of war or quarantine. That could limit them, or even as an external threat, paladins, they are not immune to disease. And especially if none of them can make con saves to possibly save their lives. Caden goes back into an epic. Ooh, an aboleth, nice. Disadvantage with a 7. Oh, a 17 and 17? Nice, look at that. Caden rolling up as, what did you come back as? You died as the female dragonborn ranger, was it? And so you came back as something else? Well, anyway, Caden wins and slays the aboleth for 4K. Female gnome ranger, yeah, that might have been it. That might have been it. You know what? There are a lot of, as we've been going through the region also, there are a lot of haunted barrows. People coming back from the dead, maybe as ghosts. It's even been implied that this external invading force originally occupied Mesotopia and retreated for some reason, and now they're coming back, and that's the invasion force of the living, but it could be causing the dead to stir for some reason. And so there's a lot of hauntings going on, and there's also suspected vampire activity. So Plunder Loot, maybe your suggestion isn't that far off. Hey, Pop's Corner, welcome. Nice to have you aboard. We're just finishing up our discussion as PCs over the party that we've built this week. We've done a SWAT report. Now, I don't have this filled in, but we had an excellent conversation on what are the roles within the band. Like, we're not talking about combat roles, right? Not necessarily. We're talking about the role play roles. You know, do we have a face? Do we have a manager? Is someone going to be, you know, a support of some kind? How do we go from that from a role play? Here's our crunch. Here's our fluff. And Ivalos, if Ivalos is still here, this standard trope, you could call it, and there's nothing wrong with using a trope, was brought up that we can base the band on if we wish to. If a force is going to retreat and come back, it would be reasonable to say that they know or can do something new. I'm not sure if I'm following that, OP. By the way, if any of you are in here and you know which anime this hat is from, and you can name what this is, I will give you some bonus EXP. They're led by an Elder Lich. Do you want that to be like a rival band? Is that they're actually undead or something? He's saying if an invading force had been there previously, then they should know the lay of the land. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, well, and that might be providing the inroads. Because with one of the campaigns we made prior, this invading force has already sent some diplomatic and some military excursions, and they tried a diplomatic one, and that is a really good campaign that we set in the region called Kandor. If you go to the YouTube channel and you look up the campaign creation of a Kandor attitude, because we base our campaigns off of puns that reflect the content of the campaign, you could follow along, and that has a lot of good stuff. It's an awesome campaign concept. IMHO. Give the hints again. It's not Pokemon, Digimon, Monster Rancher, something like that. It is from a 10-year-old-ish anime, 26 episodes based on a manga, and it has a female character with blonde hair as the lead. And should have some new trick up there. So, yeah, they probably will, right? If they were forced to retreat back to the north or wherever, and they were stewing in their juices for a while, coming up with new culture, you know, because it could be hundreds or thousands of years, and they're coming back and they want to reclaim their lands. OP, well, that's one half of it. The other half would be the invading force would also have something they didn't have before. Yeah, exactly. New spells, troops, siege equipment, powerful magic. Yep, exactly. And so they're trying to be diplomatic about it. Though overall in this campaign setting, there is the threat that this external empire, we'll call it if we want to use tropes, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have this invading empire from the north who's coming in, and every week as we make a campaign, we're adding a little bit more and more to that story to make it it's based on a big bad invading empire, but we're making it our story, and we're making it holistic to the region that we randomly generated together. Okay, you know what? I think we've gone over these characters. In the current state they're in, without spells and whatnot, they have been uploaded to our Discord. So if you wanted to download them and find a cool character appearance, or if you wanted to play around with their spells or things like that, feel free to do so. And you can come up with your own concept of him or her as you choose. Can you see page 2 again? Do you mean... What do you mean? Oh, do you mean page 2 down here? Sorry, with a 10-second delay, unless you are... nope, it is not Lucky Star Plunder Loot, although that's a fun anime. Unless you're specific on the initial request, it might take me a second to, bonk around and find what you're looking for. The SWAT? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm broadcasting live and I'm reacting to your live chat, right? The chat is immediate. That's going directly through the internet and I'm seeing it, but you're not seeing me react until 10 seconds later. Hopefully it's 10 seconds. You get what you need to get, OP. I'm glad I got to see the SWAT filled out. I'm definitely using it for your games. I would recommend it. It's uncommon, right? I don't even think in a DMG or a PHB it's something that comes as a recommendation, but this is a really good way to examine your party. Or you could do it as a what pros and cons. If you just want to keep it super simple, you just want 2 columns, weigh the pros and cons of the party, or do a SWOT analysis as well. But I'm glad it's a useful tip for you, OP. And you know what? I'll tell you, if you do use it, I would love to hear back from you. And, was it successful? Was it really relevant? For your group, does it not really matter? Or did it make all the difference in the world? But if you don't mind, OP, if you, or heck, if any of you else out there, there's at least, 18 of you right now. Unless that hasn't updated. But anyway, if you go and you use a tactic like this, I would love to hear how it is and share it with other people too, right? Nothing we're doing here is secret. This is, it's effectively a public broadcast. I'm not trademarking the idea or anything. Use it. If something that we're talking about over here, or if there's something I talk about or that you see is happening here, enjoy it. Use it. In fact, OP, I don't know if you're in our Discord. We had some amazing conversations in there about key points and their use, and we gave some really good advice to a new DM. And even just earlier, and I think you were in here for it when we were talking. Bobicus was bringing up about a lingering conversation we've been having over the past night or a couple nights this week about what are hit points really. Are they abstractions? Like, are they pure fluff? Are they pure crunch? How can you scale it? Do you want to balance the two? Is it proper to have a cleric character record everyone's hit points to the number and, therefore cast mechanically so that, that's going on? These are conversations that I enjoy having. This is fun to do, right? This is neat. It's the product of a week's worth of work. It's the culmination. Everything's coming to a head. But over here, you are even more important with the things that you're saying and doing. I'm sharing with another DM that's starting a game right now. We've both been playing for better than 15 years, and we're both military dudes that like a lot of structure. Oh, well, there you go. And you know what, OP? If you didn't tell that to me before, well, I appreciate you having served in the branch that you did. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of veterans who are part of my game store community, and I'm also. I also am in the Fraternal Order of Police Associates. I'm the VP of my local chapter. So for those who, serve the public and the citizenry in that regard, putting lives on the line, you may have heard that a ton, but you know what? You're going to hear it once more from me. I super appreciate it. That being said, look, for all of you else out there, I had a wonderful meal at a local watering hole, and I treated my I treated my server very nicely. I made sure I gave her a good tip because I appreciate her service as well. It's about how do you treat people, and are you recognizing the things that they're doing, especially when you could be doing a lot of other things. So I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth here, and I'm not equating 15-year military veteran to a local restaurant server. You're all human beings and you have your thoughts and feelings, but I don't know. I think I put my foot in my mouth. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I'm not sure. Boy, I think I did put my foot in my mouth here. But anyway, I said what I said, and I hope you're getting my meaning from that. I'm sorry, I got a little bit behind here because I should have brought up the soapbox again. Pop's Corner. Good news, everyone, says Pop's Corner, a.k.a. Professor Farnsworth. My group is going to help me DM, run me through some one-shots, a random encounter, a dungeon, and just improv. Nice, Pops. And you can do that with your group. If you think that you need some more supplemental training, talk to us. In chat, we might be able to do a little bit, but especially on Discord, Pops. Join us there, and you can get a ton of advice. We can use the voice channel if you want, or we can do it through one of the text channels. In fact, I could even create like an RP channel if you all want to create characters and have narrative adventures. I could do that too. You're not in the Discord. What's the thing for it? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Plunder Loot. I appreciate that. In games that I've always played, I treat hit points as the character's endurance for a single fight, where hit dice represent the stamina throughout the course of the day. Hey there, Bobicus. There are more of us that believe in that kind of a concept. I'm not trying to pick on you, Bobicus. One thing that's true about the military, there are a lot of D&D nerds in the military. I played plenty when I was in. Oh, and Magic too. In fact, one of the people in the community was a Marine Corps drill instructor, and he went by the nickname of Grinning Demon. I don't know if you're familiar with that Magic card, but he was known at his camp as the Grinning Demon. I should have been more clear. I was in for 13. Oh, but you've been playing. Oh, I'm sorry. You were only in the military for 13 years. Thank you, though, OP. King says popping in and out of the stream always gives me whiplash. So yeah, our conversation's quite brisk, isn't it, King? You sure Plunder would rather go back across the pond than work in customer service some days? Yep. Oh, so Plunder, you were stationed. Oh, you know what? I think you said that before. You were in Germany. You're stationed in a German military base. Well, a U.S. military base in Germany. You get what I'm saying? I think I flustered myself. Hey, OP showed up. Dun, 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 dun. Welcome. And if you do join us on Discord, enjoy the resources that we have here as well. Art, there's some fun inspirational pictures or memes. There's Tales from the Tabletop. So if you want to share your experiences as a player or a DM, you could do it as a couple paragraphs or whatever. You can put a wall of text there. But that's a place to go if you want to learn from all the rest of us. And also leave your thumbprint on our own community. Oh, Hawaii, you're in the middle of the pond. Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry, I'm used to the pond being Atlantic, so not Pacific. So yeah, you're in the middle of the pond. You're on like a little fishing island or something. Plunder is my fact check when it comes to running military-themed stories. Not being a part of the military, I only have a civvy view of it, but I try to go for some degree of authenticity, even if it's by using a player's reference. Oh. Hey, Scareman, welcome. Yep, in talking to some of the veterans who have come back, because they have tales, right? If they've been over in like Iraq or Afghanistan and whatnot, they come back and when a story ends with and the medic said, "I can't sew hamburger back into a cow." That puts a unique perspective on what occurred during that particular event. That being said, I cannot drill instructor Plunder even if I try. And yeah, like having a fact check like that, like a lot of times I just default, I'm like, yeah, it's the captain of the guard, because captain sounds like a high important position, even though whether it's a civilian force like police or a broader force like a standing army or whatnot, or a navy, there's higher, there's obviously a lot lower, but what are all the strata? And as a DM, do you really want to, like, how much strata do you want to add to the world in which you're conveying? Or is it easier to say, yeah, you find the captain of the guard and talk to him? That sounds like an interesting EMS story. Yeah, oh, Delcorin was an EMS, that's true. Yeah, I mean, when you look at as one of my guys was telling me, they brought a guy back, and the medic looked up at him and said, "I can't sew hamburger back into a cow." Um, you know what? You give him like a morphine shot and you ease the pain, and it happens, right? Well, that works, but realistically, the more true to the military you get, the less believable it would be. Is that so? Is that based on the old Mark Twain adage of "truth is stranger than fiction" because fiction relies on oh shoot, shame on me for not knowing it. It's a very good quote. There we go. Hey, Romonger, welcome. Hey, well, speaking of the pond, Plunder Loot, Romonger is in glorious Nippon right now. So you at one point, you were halfway there. Whoa, whoa, living on a prayer. Plunder Loot, it's hard when your dad was a drill sergeant and you were in the military, and I had a medic job where I was special ops rangers. Oh, okay. Well, you know, one of my guys, going into stories that were told. So he was an engineer, and from what I'm gathering from his tales, an engineer in the military is about making things go down and not building things back up. And they were defusing a bomb, and he grabbed it, and the trigger was like a mousetrap, and so the trigger went off as he was holding it, but his gloved hand kept the striker from hitting the plate. And he said the first thing he did was promptly soil himself, and for the next 2 hours was the most stressful part of his life, where the rest of his group was trying to find a way to defuse this bomb or not set off the trigger as he was holding it. And I think he said something, he smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes in those 2 hours or something like that. But you get stories. Delcorin, you need to have a twisted sense of humor to deal with some of the crap. I bet, we human beings get ourselves in some pretty precarious situations. Some very much accidentally, and others you're like, dude, but you can't say that. You can't be like, you can't walk up to the scene and be like, dude, really? Fiction works on the restraint of the possible. Yeah. Plunder knows my reference to being a drill instructor. Great review, right? Bobika says, I've read Catch-22. I feel like I could believe some things. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Ro is there on civil. If I missed something earlier, he's there for civil job purposes. Dark Wolf. Oh, we're halfway there. Oh, we're living on a prayer. Literally, I laughed so hard I almost cried. OP, that's absolutely it. The stuff I've told my friends or family about day-to-day life, they just can't believe that the people protecting freedom do such. Yeah. And you know what, they do the down to earth stuff too, because the same guy was telling me, look, they'd go out and they'd hand candies to the kids in the village, and then they would also get they would hear from either kids or people in a village that there was crimes happening, and primarily a form of rape that happens in the cultures of those countries. But you're not there to run the country, you're there to do your job. And so it was an emotionally taxing time when you have like a boy coming up to you saying, I was assaulted by the village elder or something. Well, who are you going to go? You have to go to the village elder because they're the ones who are running the village. But they're the ones also committing the crime, and you're also not there to be the police, in that sense anyway. So some of the moments are heartbreaking too. And also you see the disparity of cultures or education or language barriers or something. He was telling me that being deployed out in the Middle East, they would take salt pills in order to help them retain water for the heat. Well, you sweat out you sweat out that salt. And so by the time they were done with a patrol, a lot of the guys would have like a crust on around their collar and like around their sleeves. Well, the locals, because they don't consume the salt for the same reasons, or they may not see that effect, thought that the American troops have refrigeration units built into their vests and their backpacks and everything. And so that was actually like frost keeping them cold and not sweat because they were sweating salt out of their bodies. I love the ones where you have to fight saying, "What were you thinking, Failfish?" Yeah, that's Delcorin, I'm sure you could tell some tales too from when you were in EMT. I observed an autopsy for someone who passed of natural causes, and that was weird enough. I can't imagine like that. Oh, just something else that I haven't read yet, I guess. Ro, I'm working with some of the scariest stuff on the planet, though. Oh, well, because you're, it was a water pump, and you're in Fukushima right now, right, Romonger? Side note about Canadian Armed Forces, Tim Hortons opens 10 minutes after the all clear on home bases after an RPG attack. That should speak volumes. You're doing an autopsy on a guy that was blown up by a grenade. That was an aspect of my job. Okay, and that's what Delcorin said. Whoa. Oh man, we had Tim Hortons here in St. Louis. It was the best derned coffee, but they closed down early. Oh, it was so sad. Oh. Tim Hortons is good. Blood and gore do not bother me. Just plunder loot. Tim Hortons is good. Blood and gore do not bother me. It's almost like clicking on the same NPC twice or something. The programmer just wanted to get the personality of the culture of the village out there. You click on Mr. Plunderloot. Tim Hortons is good. Tim Hortons is good. And you're like, oh, come on. Do you say anything else? Blood and gore do not bother me. Oh. I mean, kind of as Delcorin said, look, at some of these things, if you can't laugh, you're going to cry. And it's aspects of real life. And yet, if you learn about these things, right? Talk to grandparents, talk to veterans, go to veteran homes or even just elderly homes, volunteer. Talk to the people who lived in different eras, or if you work with people from other countries, talk to them. That will completely enhance your roleplay experience. You will come up with cultural things that you never thought of before. For good or ill. Was something a villainous act that you saw while you were someplace? Or I'm sure Delcorin could describe a crime scene really well. Probably better than I can, because I can only go off of, like CSI or something. He would actually show up to a crime scene and then maybe have to shovel people off the sidewalk or something. I mean, whatever you ended up doing. I don't want to sound disrespectful for victims of crime, but it's a pump for contaminated water and a coolant for the reactor. Oh, so Ro, are you having to take did you have to take special pills or an anti-radiation injection? Are you wearing suits? What is your deal over there as you're doing this stuff, Ro? Or are you kind of remote and you're just doing the engineering and there's actual builders that are going out there? Tim Hortons and 2 maple bacon bars are every shift while I was deployed. That was the best ever. And here we are just earlier in the week talking about poutine too. Delcorin, for me it depends on the situation. If there's no adrenaline involved, my mind treats it differently. When everything is pumping, I don't have time to really react and process things. Everything is more slow-paced during an autopsy, so it'd hit me differently. It'd take me a while to adjust to the situation, right? Because you can rationalize everything. Your mind plays out what happened. Derek says, Plunder Loot, with respect to your old profession, this is why I don't use graphic horror with you, not because I'm worried about triggering you, so much as it's just not effective with you. Side note, remember GMs, it's about the right tool for the right job. That is good advice. Plunder Loot, I am aware of oh yeah, okay. Emotional horror works best. Oh wow, so Romonger is going full hazmat. And you know what, Romonger? While you're doing this, while you're over there in Japan land, learn. Hey, did you take pictures? You said you took pictures, Romonger. Come on now, cough them up. But anyway, treat that as role-playing experience, right? You're newer to D&D, and I'm sure you're jonesing to play again once you get back stateside. Take the things you've learned, especially through the profession and through the other things that you're learning from your Japanese companions. Your not compatriots, but your partners in engineering. What you're learning from being in the country over there and such. And you can now incorporate those aspects. Maybe there's things that you never thought of before, or they take an approach that maybe you haven't. All right. Well, I need to take a quick break. I will be back. I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll continue. I mean, you all keep talking. You all are having an amazing conversation, and I'll catch up too when I can. And when we come back, why don't we plot some nice episodic milestones for our band to go through, and we'll make a different kind of campaign.